So we're going to do this exercise where we have the y squared term is first. So that tells me the hyperbola is going to open up, down. I have a 16 on the right, so I need to divide both sides by 16. And I'm going to get y squared over 4 minus x squared over 16 equals 1. Now I can look under the y squared term and say go 2 up and 2 down to get 2 points that are going to be on the rectangular box that will help me build the hyperbola. Then under the x squared I see 16, so I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I draw my rectangular box, which helps me draw the asymptotes, which go through the center here. So this is an asymptote and an asymptote. And then I know since the y term comes first, I know I need to intersect the y-axis, but not the x-axis. So I know the hyperbola opens up and down. So now I've drawn my hyperbola. So I like to do the graph each equation first, then I go looking for all the other information. So the center for these first problems are all going to be the origin. The transverse axis is the y-axis. It's the one that cuts through focus, vertex, center, vertex, focus. The vertices I can see are 0, 2 and 0, -2 from my picture. For the foci, I'm going to need to figure out little c squared, but it's going to be a squared plus b squared, the sum of the denominators. So 4 plus 16, or 20. So that means c equals plus or minus 2 root 5, because you have to simplify radicals. So square root of 20 is going to be more than 4 and less than 5, so between 4 and 5. So that tells me where the vertex, the focus point is going to be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, between 4 and 5. So 0, 2 root 5. And then between 4 and 5, the other direction. So 0, -2 root 5. So those are my focus points. 0, 2 root 5. And 0, -2 root 5. So those are our focus points. And then the asymptotes. So the asymptotes are always going to be y equals mx, where you find the slope from your picture. So look at your picture and say, the center is a point on the line. And then I go up 2 and over 4, so the slope is 1/2. So the slope of the downhill line is the opposite. So I have y equals 1/2 x is one asymptote, and y equals -1/2 x is the other asymptote. So we'll do this puzzle problem in class together. And now let's look at analyzing a hyperbola with the center at HK. Everything moves with the center. So everything shifts with the center. Your vertices, your foci, and your asymptotes. So everywhere there was an x, you replace it with x minus h. Everywhere there was a y, you replace it with y minus k, and that will move the center of the hyperbola to h, k. Okay, so let's look at one problem like this. We're going to divide both sides by 9 to get the 1 that we need on the right. That's consistent. So we have x plus 4 quantity squared over 9 minus y minus 3 quantity squared. And you can put this over a 1 if it's helpful to you. You don't have to. And when you write an equation for me, if this is the equation of what I'm looking at, then it should not have the 1. But for working right now, we can put a 1. So the center, we need to read off the equation, -4, 3. So the center is at -4, 3. Then the x squared term is first. So we know it opens right, left. If the y term is first, it opens up, down. Okay, so it opens right and left from a center of -4, 3. So I look under the x squared term and it says go 3, 1, 2, 3 to the right, the x direction, and 1, 2, 3 to the left, the negative x direction. Then under the y, I see a 1, so I go up 1 and down 1, and these points are going to help me make my rectangular box, which will allow me to draw my asymptotes. Okay, and then I know it opens right, left. So the vertex has to be a point on the hyperbola, and make sure you're approaching the asymptotes here, 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 and here. Make it look like your graph is approaching the asymptotes. Okay, so we found the center. The transverse axis is actually going to be, let's see, let me label my axes and that will help. It's going to be the line y equals 1, 2, 3. So the line y equals 3. Here I see a 3 in the coordinate of the center, so that makes me feel good. The vertices I see from the picture are -1, 3 and -7, 3. So these points are 6 apart. So that makes me feel good because I went 3 one direction and 3 the other. And then the center and the vertices all have 3 for their y coordinate. And I can see they're lined up on the line y equals 3. So that's a good sign. So I've got my centers, transverse axis, vertices. To do the foci, I'm going to need the little c squared. So that's going to be the sum of the denominators. So it's going to be 9 plus 1 or 10. So little c is going to be square root of 10, which is a little more than 3. So go a little more than 3 from the center. And this is going to be x coordinate of -3 plus root 10, comma 3, since I'm up 3 in the y direction. And then I'm going to go -3 minus root 10, 3 to find the other focus point. So our focus points are -3 minus root 10, comma 3, and -3 plus root 10, comma 3. So now I have my focus points, and then my asymptotes. So the asymptotes are a little trickier now when we let the center move. So you need to use the point-slope form of the equation of a line. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where x1, y1 is a point on the line. Oh, the center is a point on both lines. So I'm going to say y minus the y coordinate of the center equals m times x minus -4, which is x plus 4. So here's my equation of my line. Now all I need to do is figure out the slope. We'll look at the picture and say start at the center and you went up 1, over to the right 3. So m is 1/3 and -1/3. So you can say y minus 3 equals 1/3 times x plus 4 is one asymptote, and y minus 3 equals -1/3 times x plus 4 is the other asymptote. So these are your two asymptotes, and you can leave them like this. You don't have to write them in slope-intercept form. This is a perfectly good equation of a line. If you want to write them in slope-intercept form, you can do the algebra. So you're going to have 1/3 x plus, you're going to have plus 4/3, and then plus another 9/3. You're going to have plus 13/3. And the other one is going to be y equals -1/3 x. So now you're going to have -4/3 plus 9/3. You're going to have plus 5/3. Okay, and we'll do these other problems in class together and do some mixed practice also.